Okay, so let's discuss about a concept called enhancements. What exactly is enhancements and how it works is what we need to discuss now. So basically, enhancements always deals with adding functionality, to SAP standard objects. Okay, so let's understand this how it works. Okay, basically you are adding something. Now let us understand the first thing is you cannot actually change the logic that is already there by SAP standard one. Means, for example, the programs that we have which start with A to X cannot be modified. There are a lot of some thousands and thousands of programs are there which start with A to X and they cannot be modified. Now SAP has given an option that you can actually add the logic to the existing one, but you cannot modify the old one. This is what we have. So how do we do that? How do we actually modify the add something to it? Now SAP has given some options in various places where we can actually go and add something to it. For example, let's say we have employee data. For employee data, entering and maintaining the employee data, we already have a standard transaction code. Now if let's say PA01, now what we'll have is we'll have there is a requirement right now that you have to add something like COVID status. Now obviously in the SAP standard standard screens, this COVID status field is not there, right? Now you need to add it. And how do you add it in the existing standard one? Using enhancements. Provided SAP has given us the option to enhance it, then you can enhance it. Right? So this enhancement can happen at various levels, and we're going to look at them. And we can do the enhancement at the table level, database table level, program level, or any function module level. So stuff like that. So these are the things, and some are still in use, and some are completely outdated. Okay, this is about the enhancements. So let's see what are the different possibilities of adding some new code to the existing one. What are the different ways in which we can do, and what are the objects that we can enhance? Let's understand that. So we're going to look at the adjustments of SAP standard software, enhancement of dictionary elements. So dictionary elements in the sense like database tables, data element, domain, and these are the things, and customer exits. So basically, SAP has given two major techniques to enhance a particular program or screen or something like that. Those are exits and business add-ins. The two things that we have: exits and business add-ins. So customer exits, which we are talking about, is the first kind of enhancement that was there to add some code to the existing standard programs. Then we have the classical add-ins, business add-ins, and new business add-ins. Explicit enhancement options. Additionally, to exits and business add-ins, we have explicit enhancement options, implicit enhancement options, modification of SAP standard applications, and Webbench Pro is another one, another concept wherein we have to design the new pages. So Webbench Pro happens to be a different concept, but till we have the modifications of SAP standard application, till there, this all comes under the enhancements. So Webbench Pro context. So adjusting SAP standard software, and how do we actually do the enhancements? So basically, in general, the enhancements can happen in all these ways. So we are changing the SAP standard. Okay, so if you want to add something to SAP standard one, personalization, transaction variants, modification assistant, user exits, and then enhancements. So transaction variants is something which we have to personalize the things. For example, transaction variants in the sense like if you open a transaction, you can build variants. You can actually save variants, and that it in turn can be used again. And modification assistant, user exits. So these are the things that we have. Then you have the enhancements. We have ABAP dictionary. We have table. All these things we can add something. So how do we add it? We'll see. And we have customer exits, business transaction events, business add-ins, classical business add-ins, new, explicit enhancements, point sections, implicit enhancements. So these are all things that we have. So these are all the enhancements. So there now we are very clear that there are a lot of SAP standard programs, transaction codes, database tables. There are a lot of things that are already standard. Okay, I was telling you in the beginning that 90% of the coding is already done. Only the 10% is what we have to do, the minimum things. So that comes under the customer programs. These customer programs are your Z programs. Okay, so these are the Z programs. We can either do the customizing in the sense you're not going to touch any code, but you are going to just customize, like these are the default things that should come, or say something like this is the display that has to come. These all things will be coming in the customizing. Like for example, you want this display screen not in blue color but in green color. You can do it in the customizing. You want default bank details to come in when you are opening that payment details, so that is customizing. Okay, now personalization in the sense, like you are actually, see, you have a mobile phone, right? So you are personalize it, you give your own password, you can give, so that is all like personalization means you are giving access to only a limited period, limited people, something like that. This all come under the personalization. That's one example of it. Modification is actually not suggestible. SAP standard programs or tables, whatever standard development is there, we are not supposed to actually change that. But if in just in case, how do we do that is also we'll see. Then we have the best thing is enhancement, adding something to it. So what we are doing is, if you see the blue color, this is SAP standard, and what you can see in the light blue color is something which is an enhancement, which is an addition. Just if that it doesn't work out, like if the enhancement doesn't, if adding some functionality to the SAP standard one doesn't work out, then we'll go for the customer programs. So customer programs are your Z programs. So this is the procedure for how to make the changes. First and foremost is you have to go for the customizing in the sense, if you already have an Android application which can serve your purpose in your mobile phone, what you do is you just try to modify it according to how you like. That is called customizing. Okay, can SAP standard program or SAP standard functionality can be used with customizing? Is it possible for me? So can customizing, personalizing satisfy the customer request? If say yes, then customizing and personalization is what we have to do. If it cannot be done, if the personalization and customizing cannot work, then what? Okay, if it doesn't work, then is similar functionality available in SAP standard? Okay, if it is there, yes, make use of it. If it's at least near to the requirement, then you have to go for the enhancement. No, even if there is not even a nearest application is also not there, then you have to do the customer development, means the Z programs that you are doing right now, right? So that is what we have to do, or CSP solution. So now I'll discuss about what is CSP solution, but here we have enhancement, satisfy the customer request. Okay, so what is if I take the SAP standard one, and can I enhance it and make the customer satisfied? If the customer is not satisfied, then you have to go for new programs or new developments, completely new, as we are doing customer development without SAP objects as a template. And then we have the enhancement. Otherwise, what we can do is we can modify the SAP standard program or standard development, which is actually not suggestible, which is never suggestible. So this is about the customizing. So this is a reference model. So application in the sense, let's say a transaction code is there. A transaction code is there, and you open the transaction code. I think we have done it in the past. Like we have just updated the vendor details. So when we are updating the vendor details from MK01 or XK01, then that updating process we are doing in an application. So MK01 can be considered as an application. The transaction code with which we are using is an application. So examples of how personalization is achieved, going for variant transactions. Just in case if we have not discussed about the variants, we will once again discuss that. I remember discussing about it. Set get parameters, just passing some parameters to it, and then user dependent or client dependent table control settings is something which we have. And then we have the personalized menus, role based menus, favorites, shortcuts on your desktop and all. Describe the options of adjusting the SAP standard system. So enhancement types. So these are the different types of enhancements at different levels. Table enhancements, program enhancements, menu enhancements, screen enhancements, and modifications. We have the change levels during the ABAP Workbench. So now the user exits comes into picture when we are to enhance certain things. Okay, when you want to add something. So in this we have the screen enhancements, menu enhancements, program enhancements, and ABAP dictionary enhancements. In this, few are obsolete now. What do I mean by obsolete is, if obsolete means it's something which is not in use or you cannot use it. Okay. That's obsolete. Now I can take an example that in India, like old 1,000 rupees notes and old 500 rupees notes have become obsolete. Something like that. These are the table enhancements. So if you want to add some new fields to the database tables, then we need to go ahead and add them through append structure or CI include program, include tables, include fields. Okay. So there is an include. Now when we go for include, when we go for append structure is, if you have to add fields only to a particular table, we'll go for append structure. But just in case if you want to use the same fields in multiple tables, then you will go for this include programs, include tables. So include will actually add those fields in the table. So we have the table enhancements. Table enhancements can be done through two things. One is append structure and CI include. Now what do I mean by that is, we can take a particular database table, standard database table, and we can add those fields. If any one of you have observed in some tables, I think you might have also asked me this question. So some fields are in black color and some fields are in blue color. So you might have a doubt that why they are coming in the blue color, because they are coming actually from either append structure or include structure. So we have enhancement for object intelligence. So this is the implementation techniques for program methods. program branch using call. So we have the subroutines, function modules, customer exits, BTs, business transaction events. BTs stands for business transaction events and BADI stands for business add-ins. So these are the various techniques in which we are going to add. Okay, so for SAP standard program, we can add all these things. Basically, SAP should have given these options, any of these options. Only then we can make use of this. So now, if let's say SAP has given an option for subroutine user exit, then you can create a subroutine with customer source code. If they have given it as function module with customer source code, we can do that. Customer function module, customer method. So these all things can be done. So to add something to SAP standard program, you can either use user exits, customer exits, business transaction events, and business add-ins. Depending upon the requirement, depending upon our strategy, what exactly the client is expecting, we have to follow our strategy. Implementation techniques for menu exits. So now, if you have to use the user exit technique, we can add some functionality using subroutines. If you have to use customer exit, we have to use a function module. Business transaction event also we have to use a function module, and business add-in we have the method. So these are the implementation techniques for menu exits. Menu exits in the sense you can add a new menu to the existing menu. So if there is a SAP standard menu, in that SAP standard menu we can add some functionality to it. This is what we have. So we can go ahead and add some new functionality, new code to it. Okay, so we have this menu enhancements, and then we have the screen enhancements. In screen enhancements, what we do is we add new fields to the existing screen. So adding new fields to the existing screen is for screen enhancement. We have this subscreen area, flow logic, enhancement, documentation. So these are all the things that we have in SAP, and we can add subscreen, we can add function modules or methods for data transport and all. So basically, first one is menu exits, where we can add something to the menu. Then screen exits, we can add some fields to the existing fields. This is what we have. So we have this. Why so many different technologies? You might get confused at the beginning that why SAP has implemented so many things. Like we have user exits, we have BDs, we have baddies. Why? Basically, SAP started off with enhancements concept with exits. Okay, so we call them user exits, customer exits, menu exits, screen exits. These all are exits. So basically, this was the first thing. Then they slowly added this BTE, business transaction events, specifically for finance department. Now BTEs, business transaction events, are specifically available for finance department only, wherein you can create a new function model and attach to the BTE. This is something which we have. Business add-ins is a concept which is purely based on object-oriented programming. So you can understand the concept of baddies only when you know object-oriented programming well. So object-oriented programming is what we are discussing now, and summarizing the advantages of previous technologies is what we'll just have a quick look at. So one thing that you primarily need to understand is baddies was developed based on object-oriented programming. And let me tell you, at the very beginning, maybe in early 90s or something like that, so we didn't have the object-oriented programming in ABAP at all. At the time, baddies also didn't exist. Only after the introduction of OOPS concept into the ABAP, they have launched this baddie concept. So user exits is there from very long time. Now, for every program exits, we have multiple implementations. There can be multiple implementations. Basically, in exits, you cannot have multiple implementation. Now, what do I mean by that is, basically, if you add a program code to one program, that cannot be used again for another program. You have to use it only specifically for a single program. Here you can use it multiple programs. This is what we have. So new enhancement options offered through the enhancement framework as of SAP NetWeaver 7.0. So implicit enhancement points and options, explicit enhancement points, explicit enhancement sections, and new badges. These are the various ways in which we can actually enhance. So in a program, I'm going to show these things directly on the system. Enhancements points, wherein we can actually add the customer source code. Overview of enhancement options. We can actually go into a standard program, search for this enhancements point, and then get into it, and you can add the code there, and only inside the enhancements point, and then we can actually develop it. Okay, now let's look at this adding of an append structure to a SAP standard table. So let's take an SAP standard table and add some fields to it, new fields to it, and let's see how it looks like. This is called append structure. So let's look into it, and then we can go ahead with the next one. So I'm going to cover this in the next session. So look for the next session, and in that I'm going to explain how to actually go for the append structure and how do we do that. If you feel these sessions are useful for you, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and also please share it with your friends. It might help them as well.